This is a true story. I thought I escaped the lake, but they followed me. The lake at dusk. I don't talk about that summer much. Not because I've moved on, or because the memories faded into something I can laugh off over a couple of beers. No, it's because every time I try to tell someone, I can feel that same humidity creeping back into my lungs, the damp, earthy breath of Ashwood Lake. You've probably never heard of my hometown, Ashford Hollow, a dot in rural Pennsylvania, a place where the diner closes at 6 and the only movie theater shut down when I was still in high school. People don't come here unless they're lost, or unless they're headed for the lake. The lake has always been our one claim to fame, or at least it used to be. Families came from the next county over to swim and grill on its shore. Teenagers dared each other to sneak out after dark and go skinny dipping. But if you grew up in Ashford Hollow, you knew better. You heard the stories. 3 women, always 3, beautiful, young, and somehow not from anywhere anyone could remember. They would walk the banks in summer dresses, barefoot, hair glossy as spilled ink, eyes that felt like they belonged to someone you used to know. They smiled too much. They touched your wrist when they spoke. They remembered your name after only hearing it once. During the day, they were irresistible. At night, they were lethal. The town used to warn kids the way other places warn about bears or coyotes. Don't go near the lake after sundown. Don't follow the music if you hear it. Don't believe them if they say your name. But warnings stop working after a while. A few bad years with no incidents. And suddenly, the stories turn into folklore. Folklore turns into jokes. Jokes turn into dares. And that's how I ended up there, a year ago, standing barefoot at the edge of Ashwood Lake with a warm beer in my hand, pretending not to be afraid. The sun had just sunk, the sky bleeding orange into black, and I swear the water didn't reflect the stars right. It was too still, like a sheet of glass, but I could see shapes moving beneath it. Then I heard laughter, not from my friends behind me, not from the woods, from the water. The 3 at the shore. The laughter rippled across the water like it didn't belong to this world, soft, feminine, playful. At first I thought maybe it was just some girls from town messing around on the far side of the lake, the sound carrying strangely over the surface. But then I realized something. There weren't any ripples. No boats, no splashes, nothing moving except the voices. I should have turned around right then, but the beer was warm and buzzing in my veins, and my pride was louder than my common sense. My friends had dared me to stay by the water after dark. Just an hour, they said. An hour to prove I wasn't scared of a bedtime story. I was about 15 minutes in when I saw them. 3 women. Stepping out of the water like it wasn't water at all. Their dresses clung to their bodies, but not in the way wet fabric should. It was like the lake had made the dresses for them, stitched from moonlight and black silt. One of them had hair that fell in waves, so dark it seemed to swallow the night around it. Another's was a pale, almost silver blonde, shimmering every time she tilted her head. The third, her hair was a coppery red, catching the glow of the fireflies that blinked in the trees. Their faces were perfect, too perfect, like someone had tried to carve beauty into marble, but couldn't decide on one definition. Their eyes shifted colors when you looked too long, green, blue, gray, impossible to pin down, and they were looking at me, only me. "You look lonely," the dark-haired one said. Her voice was smooth, liquid, like she was speaking from underwater. My throat went dry. I wanted to tell her I wasn't alone, that my friends were just up the hill with the cooler and the speaker. But when I turned my head, the woods were silent, no music, no chatter, no sign of anyone at all. "Come closer," the blonde whispered. She tilted her chin, and droplets slid down her neck, catching the moonlight like pearls. "We won't bite." The redhead smiled then, wide, too wide. "Unless you want us to."
legs actually moved before my brain decided anything. I stepped forward, toes sinking into the damp mud at the shoreline, and that's when I noticed the water. The lake, still as glass a moment ago, was shifting now. The reflections weren't right. The stars above were trembling, distorting into strange shapes, twisting into symbols I didn't recognize. The laughter returned, closer this time, all around me. That's when I understood something that froze me to the bone. The women weren't alone in that lake.
Voices like honey. The three of them didn't move like normal women. Every step they took toward me seemed stretched, elongated, as though the ground bent beneath their feet. Their dresses trailed just above the mud, yet never stained. "Why are you standing so far away?" the blonde asked, tilting her head, lips curving into something halfway between pity and amusement. Her voice was thick, sweet enough to taste, like honey warming in the back of my throat. The dark-haired one brushed her fingers across the surface of the lake. Ripples spread outward, but instead of vanishing, they froze, solid, like rings etched into black glass. "We've seen you before," she murmured, "always watching us from the trees, always curious, always afraid." I swallowed hard. I wasn't... But she cut me off with a smile. The redhead crouched near the waterline, resting her chin on her knees. Her eyes never blinked. "Do you know how long we've been waiting for you?" Something about the way she said it made my stomach lurch. Waiting. Not someone like you. Not anyone. Me. I shook my head, words stuck in my throat. "You're not like the others," the blonde continued. "They come down here to prove themselves, to drink, to dare each other into doing foolish things. They never hear us until it's too late." Her voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "But you hear us, don't you? Even when you shouldn't." The air felt heavy, charged, like a thunderstorm pressing down on the world. I glanced behind me again, still no sign of my friends, no sound, just darkness swallowing the trees whole. The dark-haired one extended her hand. Her nails were pale, almost translucent, like the inside of seashells. "Come, sit with us." For a moment I almost did. My legs twitched, eager to obey, my chest tightening with a strange, breathless excitement. They were impossibly beautiful, impossibly magnetic, like gravity itself had shifted toward them. But then I noticed something. Their reflections in the water didn't match their movements. When the blonde tilted her head, her reflection kept staring forward. When the redhead crouched, her reflection's lips moved, whispering something I couldn't hear. The hand was still outstretched toward me, waiting, and I realized I was only one step away from touching it.
The pole of the lake. I told myself I wouldn't take her hand, but then her fingers curled ever so slightly, beckoning, and something deep inside me twitched like a marionette string had been tugged. The redhead laughed softly. The sound ran through me like warm smoke, curling around my ribs, seeping into places I didn't know sound could reach. "Don't be afraid," she said, her teeth catching in the moonlight, just barely too sharp. "Fear is such a waste on you." The blonde leaned closer to the water, dragging her fingertips along its surface. The ripples that followed weren't natural. They spread outward, yes, but instead of widening circles, they bent into shapes, spirals, eyes, something like mouths. My stomach turned, but my body didn't back away. Instead, I stepped closer. Mud squelched between my toes. My jeans brushed damp reeds. The lake smelled different up close, not algae or earth, but faintly metallic, like blood rubbed between copper coins. "You've dreamed of us," the dark-haired one said suddenly, Her gaze locked with mine, and my lungs hitched. "Haven't you?" My mouth opened, but no sound came out. And the truth was, she wasn't wrong. I couldn't place the memory, but something about them felt like déjà vu. Like I'd seen their faces years before, blurred in half-forgotten dreams. The blonde hummed, and the sound made my vision swim. "Dreams are just doors," she whispered, "and you've left yours unlocked for so long." Behind them, the water shifted again. This time I was sure I saw something move beneath the surface. A pale shape gliding too quickly, too large to be a fish, but none of them looked down. They only kept watching me, their perfect faces stretched into those patient, knowing smiles. The redhead tilted her head. "You're trembling," she said gently, like a lover pointing out a secret. "But it isn't fear, is it?" It wasn't. That was the worst part. My heart wasn't hammering with terror. It was racing with something closer to excitement, like falling forward into a kiss you know you shouldn't want. I couldn't stop staring at their eyes. They were wrong. Too many shades, shifting like oil in water. And when the blonde's gaze caught mine, I felt a pressure behind my eyes, like someone else was looking out through them. "Come," the dark-haired one said again, her voice low, coaxing. And this time, my hand lifted toward hers. The touch. Her hand was cool when it closed around mine. Not icy, not clammy, just cool. Like water kept in a stone basin, untouched by sunlight. The sensation shot through me, not unpleasant. My skin prickled, and for a second I thought maybe all the warnings, all the stories were just that. Small-town boogeyman tales meant to scare kids from sneaking beers by the lake. The dark-haired woman's lips parted in a slow smile. "There," she whispered. "See? Nothing to fear." And she was right. My chest loosened, my heart slowed. Their beauty pressed in around me like warmth from a fire, intoxicating. The redhead leaned forward, eyes glimmering with delight. "Doesn't it feel good to be chosen?" The blonde laughed lightly, melodic, as though the night itself was joining her. "They always fight, always pull away. But you're different." For a moment, I almost believed them. The world felt muted, softened, as if the only real things were their faces, their voices, their hands reaching toward me. But then, something shifted. The water lapped against my ankles, though I hadn't stepped into it. I glanced down and saw the shoreline had crept closer. No, I had crept closer. My toes now touched the edge of the black surface, and in the reflection, I saw not 3 women holding me, but 3 pale figures. Their hands looked bonier. Their eyes were hollow, glowing faintly like lanterns left underwater. The pressure in my chest snapped. Instinct surged back into me. I tore my hand free, stumbling back onto the mud. My breath came hard, ragged. The redhead's smile didn't falter, but it stretched. "Don't run," she said, sing-song, as though I were a child refusing bedtime. "You'll only make us chase you." My heel slipped on the wet earth, but I managed to lurch back up the bank, heart hammering. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get as far from the lake as possible. But when I looked back, they weren't angry. They weren't monstrous. They were still standing there in the moonlight, beautiful, smiling, waiting. And that smile told me one thing. They knew I'd come back. Via stories in the dark, I ran until my lungs burned, crashing through the brush at the edge of the woods. Branches scraped my arms. The night swallowed the path. But I didn't stop until until I saw the glow of the fire up ahead. My friends were still there, laughing, drunk, half sprawled around the cooler. The sound of their voices was jarring, too normal, too loud, after what I'd just seen. "Yo!" Tyler waved a bottle at me, grinning. "You're alive. Guess the witches didn't drag you under, huh?" The others laughed. I forced a weak smile, pretending to catch my breath. "Nothing out there," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just an ordinary lake." They booed, throwing bottle caps and curses. "Dude, weak. At least say you saw their tits or something." One of them groaned. I laughed along with them, hollow. My hands still tingled, where hers had touched it. My jeans were damp with lake water, though I hadn't stepped in. We packed up not long after, piling into Tyler's dented old SUV. The night air inside was thick with beer and smoke as the headlights cut through the winding country roads. "You know the story, right?" Someone slurred from the back seat. "About who they were?" I leaned against the window, half listening. "3 girls from town, like, way back. They drowned out there. Some say it was an accident. Some say they were lured by a guy who promised to marry them all. When he didn't, they walked into the lake and never came back." Another voice chimed in. Nah, it's darker than that. My cousin told me they were witches. Real ones. They got caught, tied up, and thrown into the water. That's why they come back, to drag men under. Revenge." The SUV filled with drunken laughter and mock screams, someone making ghost noises. I smiled faintly, though my chest was heavy. Their voices blurred in and out as the tires hummed against the asphalt, and every now and then I caught myself glancing into the dark tree lines, half expecting to see 3 pale figures walking beside the car. When we reached my street, they dropped me off with lazy goodbyes. Tyler honked twice, then roared off, the taillights vanishing into the quiet night. The silence felt heavier without them. I walked up the driveway, fishing my key from my pocket, the cool metal biting into my damp fingers. And as I reached for the lock, the key slid into the lock with a soft click. I turned the knob, pushed the door open, and stepped into the sound of water. My sneakers sank into mud. A damp wind pressed against my face, carrying that same coppery tang I'd sworn I left behind. For a moment I thought I was drunker than I realized, that maybe I'd stumble into the wrong house, the wrong yard, the wrong life. But then I looked up. The moon hung heavy, full, its reflection trembling across the black surface of Ashwood Lake. The shoreline stretched around me exactly as it had before, reeds swaying, insects buzzing faintly in the tall grass. My house, my street, my neighborhood, they were gone. I was back at the lake. There was no door, no frame, nothing but trees pressed close, their branches leaning in like skeletal arms. The laughter rose again, that same rippling chorus, wrapping around me, soft and playful, echoing off the still water. "Back so soon?" The blonde's voice, thick with amusement. The 3 of them were there, standing knee-deep in the lake now. The water curled around their thighs without making a sound, like silk draped over porcelain. Their dresses floated around them in a way fabric shouldn't, swaying as if alive. "You left too quickly," the redhead whispered. "We didn't get to finish." The dark-haired one's smile stretched wider. "But it's all right. You opened the door. That means you want us." My breath hitched. The cool mud sucked at my shoes, tugging like the ground itself wanted to pull me closer. Every rational thought screamed that this wasn't possible, that I had just been standing on my porch. But their eyes gleamed in the dark, patient, hungry. "You can't lie to us here," the blonde murmured. "Not in our place. I don't belong here." The redhead tilted her head, lips curving into a smile that was almost kind. "Almost. You've always belonged here." And as she said it, the surface of the lake broke. Pale hands, dozens of them, slid up from beneath the water, fingers reaching, searching, stretching toward me. The voices in my head. The hands didn't touch me. Not yet. They hovered, just above the mud, fingers twitching, waiting. But the sight of them froze me where I stood, my stomach lurching like I was falling down an endless shaft. And then, the whispering began. It wasn't out loud, not the way sound usually works. No air, no vibration, just voices, sliding directly into my skull, silk threads pulling tight behind my eyes. "Your father," the blonde murmured, though her lips never moved. "He used to leave you alone in the basement when you cried. Do you remember? You told your mother it was an accident, but you knew better." My knees buckled. That was true, a memory I hadn't thought of in years. The redhead's voice followed, softer, coaxing. "And the night you stole $20 from your best friend's wallet, you told yourself you'd pay him back. You never did. Do you think he still trusts you?" My throat closed. The mud at my feet felt heavier. The dark-haired one smiled, eyes gleaming like oil. "You still dream about her, don't you? The one who left. The girl who wouldn't even answer your calls. You still whisper her name some nights, when you think no one can hear." I wanted to scream, but the sound died before it reached my lips. The blonde stepped closer, the water parting around her. "We know you," her voice slid against my ear like a wet hand. "We've always known you. Every weakness, every secret, every shame." I staggered back, heart pounding. My head throbbed heavy with their words. Images from my own life flashed in quick bursts. Fights, lies, betrayals, things I had buried, things I had prayed would never surface again. "You can't hide from us," the redhead whispered. "You brought us with you," the dark-haired one added, her smile widening. "When you opened that door, shamelessly." The pale hands rose higher now, brushing against my shoes, curling around my ankles. Not pulling, just holding. Gentle, patient. "Tell us your name," the blonde said, "and we'll make sure no one else ever remembers it." The drowning mind. The hands tightened. Not rough, not violent, just inexorable, like the slow pull of a tide that doesn't care if you breathe or scream. My shoes sank deeper into the mud until I could feel the cold water seeping through the seams. The whispers sharpened.
You'll never be enough. They see through you. They always have. Your mother still pities you. She knows. I clawed at my head, digging my nails into my scalp, desperate to shut them out. But their voices were inside. Every word struck like a needle, threading shame and memory into something I couldn't pull apart. And then, images, not my own this time, images they put there. I saw myself at the bottom of the lake, hair floating, eyes open but lifeless, their pale hands stroking my face like lovers, their lips brushing against mine to force black water into my lungs. I saw my house empty, my bed unslept in, dust gathering on the kitchen counter as weeks passed. My phone ringing and ringing until it stopped. I saw my mother crying in the doorway, clutching a photo of me, my name spoken in past tense. "Stop," I shouted, or thought I shouted. I couldn't tell if sound was leaving my mouth anymore. My voice felt swallowed, eaten before it escaped. The blonde leaned close, her lips at my ear. "You wanted to stop? Then give in." The redhead pressed her pale hand against her chest, feigning sympathy. "It's easier in the water. You'll never feel alone again." The dark-haired one smiled too wide. "We can be everything you ever needed, forever." The hands at my ankles pulled again, firmer now. Cold water lapped higher, soaking my jeans. The lake reflected nothing but blackness, no stars, no moon, just endless dark. And for one horrifying moment I wanted it. The weight of silence, the release of shame, the promise of belonging. I swayed toward the water, knees bending, my arms dropped useless at my sides. The laughter rose around me, triumphant, wrapping tighter and tighter until a single sound cut through it, faint, ordinary, human, a dog barking somewhere in the distance, and with it the smallest crack of light, a reminder of the world outside this nightmare, a reminder I wasn't entirely theirs, not yet. I jerked against the hands, thrashing, kicking, tearing free from the mud, their laughter sharpened into a hiss. The redhead's smile collapsed into something hollow, monstrous, her teeth too long, her jaw stretching too far. But I didn't look back. I ran. What followed me home? I never told anyone, not my friends, not my mother, not the drunk cops who sometimes patrolled the lake road. Who would have believed me? I just said I tripped, fell in the mud, and scared myself half to death. Everyone laughed. The story became one more stupid teenage memory to them. But not to me. I left Ashford Hollow the first chance I got, went to college 3 states away, buried myself in work, convinced myself that what happened at the lake was nothing but a hallucination from too much booze, not enough sleep. Years passed, life moved on, and then they found me again. It started at a bar in Pittsburgh. I was 29, tired, half drunk, scrolling my phone when I felt someone's eyes on me. 3 girls, sitting together in a booth across the room, laughing, watching. Dark hair, pale blonde, copper red. My stomach turned to ice. But they weren't uncanny, not then. They were just beautiful, magnetic in the same impossible way. One of them caught my eye and winked. Another whispered something to her friends, and all 3 of them laughed like I was the punchline and the prize at the same time. After that, they kept appearing. Different places, different contexts. 3 girls together, always together. At the gym, at a grocery store, once, God help me, even at my office, waiting at the reception desk for a meeting no one could confirm later. And at night, the dreams. They visit me in 3s. The dreams always begin sweet, seductive, like something out of an adult film, bodies pressed close, lips brushing against my skin. I wake up sweating, ashamed, but also burning with a hunger I can't admit out loud. But just before the dream ends, the sweetness curdles. Their faces blur, their mouths stretch, their eyes turn black, and they whisper my secrets into my ear until I bolt awake, gasping, drenched in sweat. I don't know how this finishes. I only know that whether I'm awake or dreaming, they're closer now than they were at the lake. They're patient, they're waiting, and if I disappear someday, If I stop showing up at work, stop answering calls, if no one can find me, don't go looking, because they'll be with me, because they always find me. And maybe this time,